This is Pranav Thakurta from EduTV, the first education channel. Today, we are with Dr. Mehta, Dr. Priyanka Mehta. She is the director of Sarvottam International School, Noida Extension, India. She has been worked with best of the institution. She has headed schools like Amity, another school, and taken up schools pretty well. And when she started this school, she started from scratch. Now this school has become very famous in and around Noida. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Pranav. It's always a pleasure being on EduTV. One of the finest places, I think, which makes sure that ideas are exchanged in the real sense. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we had been learning from you. Ma'am, to start with, we would like to have your advice for all the stakeholders of education, like owners of the school, principals, teachers, and students and parents also. Ma'am, how to transform reluctant and passive learners to active and enthusiastic learners? Over to you, Dr. Priyanka.
Thank you, Pranav. That's very, very important as a question. I think the entire system struggles with the fact that we try our level best, but then the results may not come as we anticipate. And when we ask our teachers, when we ask our parents that what is the issue, most of the time we hear that, well, the child wasn't responding to the process at school, the instructions of the parent at home. Now, I think first and foremost, I want to share here is that every child, small, adolescent, or the young adults that we talk about in grades 11 and 12, they're inherently, or if I was to speak in simple language, every child is curious and willing to learn by nature. And I can only prove it from the fact that the moment a child is born, the child starts to respond to instructions. So I want to ask everybody, what happens along the way that suddenly this interest goes down? That is our first point of introspection as adults, wherein I feel that we need to check three things when it comes to reluctant children. First, we need to check the environment. And by environment, I mean to say the environment at home and the environment at school. The immediate environment at home, why do we need to look at it is because that environment has to be encouraging and motivating enough for the child to want to do something, right? If all the time we are, nagging and trying to helicopter parenting, things don't turn in our favor really much. Then there is an environment at school. We've heard it many times already that, well, a lot was known to the child till the child came to school and lost it all. Because at school, the environment, we try and bring in environment, we define the learning environment for the child, whereas we should be aligning the environment of the child, the environment of the school with the child. That is very important. And I'll come to that a little later. Second thing that we must need to understand is, how does a child learn? We need to understand, if you want certain results, you're going to be doing things to get those results. You want a cake baked. You can't be talking about a recipe without an oven. You can't be talking about a recipe without the ingredients. And then the process comes. Most of the time, we're talking of the process first, and we're not talking about the ingredients. We're not talking about the right proportions. We're not talking about the right places where you can get these things from. So that, how will the child learn? What is basic to a child to react to your instructions, your learning processes, your teaching process is important for a system to learn, to help make a child interactive either in the classroom. And I'll give you one example here, the observation that most of us have. Children are very interactive and open during their games period, right? Something happens right in that period. They talk to their sports teachers a lot. They talk to their dance and music teachers a lot. Something changes when they come back to the class and they're doing other subjects. Within the subjects also, with some teachers, they're doing great. With the other teachers, they're not too great. So we need to understand that it's probably not the child who's a problem. There are certain other things that we need to be taking care of, and they happen in totality. Number 3 is, how do you even measure whether the child is learning, is interactive or not interactive? Now here, I want people to understand, in fact, everyone to understand, that different children will ask for different parameters. So we need to understand how a system judges all the children at the same platform. I'm very happy with the new education policy coming in, because at least somewhere we are talking about now differentiated learning, we're talking about skills, we're talking about trainings, we're talking about bringing in stuff where we've kind of de-aligned the subjects in grades 11 and 12 and brought in liberal choices. And if we still fear that these liberal choices are going to put the system at risk, I think we are grossly wrong. So to understand a reluctant child, we first need to go back and check what leads to reluctance. No child wants to be reluctant, and children are reluctant in pockets, right? You tell them this is, you need to prepare for the annual function. I can hardly find a child who's reluctant. You tell them it's a sports period, you don't find them reluctant. But you tell them you want to learn, this is going to be our English period or your maths period, some of them are willing to do it, the others are reluctant. So I want to go back to the environment point here. Considering all these 3 factors, where we've checked on the environment, we've checked on the child, how does the child learn, and then what are your parameters of assessing learning? The moment you align all these, keeping the child in mind, you will not have reluctant children. Children will start to respond. And I'm not, instead of checking on marks, let's check on responses. Let's check on the resultant learning. If anybody thinks that whatever is the content of the books is the curriculum of a nation, I'm one person who stands to differ, because most of the curriculum is defined by, with all due respect to the publishers, what we're teaching, our curriculum becomes the 11 or 12 chapters of the book that is prescribed by the school. The 14th chapter, if at all exists in some other book, is not even looked at. So my curriculum is there. I should be talking about minimum learning levels. I should be talking about dimensions of learning. I should be talking about understanding the gaps in the learning of the child. And for that, first of all, I need to equip my parent community to let the child be for a while, and the teacher community to allow the child to express in the class. Last of all, I think I want to say is that a happy child always learns. So can we please focus on happiness at school? Can we please focus on mindfulness at school? Can we please focus on happiness at home? Can we please focus on mindfulness at home? And children will start responding to your instruction. Will start. You sit with the child with a convincing logic, and they will get back to you. You will understand how the child is thinking. You will sometimes we speak to senior children, we tell them, you know, we give them that, at my school, we give them that opportunity to question. What we teach them is how to question. We teach them how to keep respect while you question. We teach them how to maintain decorum while you question, but don't stop questioning. Don't think if you question, you are disrespectful. Now, the moment you do that, the moment the child questions, you understand where the gap is. And once you answer the child, you know where the learning is. So I don't find any real reluctance there. So I'm kind of a little differently opinionated on it. And yes, there are children who would not want to do certain things at certain time. And most of the time, I think it is the reluctance of the adult, which is transferred onto the child. I want this notebook like this. Yes, you want it, but can we please enable the child to understand why? So you tell the child and the child will be aligned. So for me, it is slightly different as a scene. And I've seen children turning around immensely. We've seen children coming around and they were not doing anything. They become the part of the student council. They start doing things. They become great peer leaders because they can relate with each other. They start talking. Most of the time, we are snubbing the kid. Read, learn. How am I supposed to understand that there is a response? What if a simple thing I want to leave before I end this discussion here What if there was no meter gauge in a car to tell you how much fuel was left? What would we do? So do we have that meter gauge with us for each child to understand how would the child do?